Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can tell by the title of today's video, I am going to be sharing my birth story. I really originally planned to do a whole labor and delivery vlog, like film my entire labor process, like when I was at the hospital and all of that, before what I was doing, but that didn't work out because, as you will find out, my labor delivery, well, it wasn't quick, but at the same time it was. So let's just start from the week that I had her. Oh, I had her on Thursday. Before then, literally I was getting no action. I would say I had one contraction, and that was like, what? And that was like 2 weeks prior. And we had been doing a lot of walking. It was the end of the day. I was hungry, I was tired, and I just had like one contraction. I was like, wow, what was that? Because like obviously you have Braxton Hicks throughout your whole entire pregnancy, but I did not realize that that was a contraction. I figured that's what it was, but I wasn't sure. That was the only action I had prior to going into labor. I was 39 weeks, about to be 40 weeks, and nothing was happening. So I was like, okay, I know for a lot of first time moms, they usually go a week over or something. So I ended up getting on YouTube trying to find ways to naturally induce labor because I was full term. So I was ready to give birth. I was drinking the raspberry leaf tea, drinking plenty of water, walking, bouncing on my yoga ball, and nothing was happening. I saw this thing called the mile circuit. It is like 3 stretches that you hold for like 30 minutes each. So that's what I did. My mom was out here with us because we live in Texas. My parents live in Georgia. So my mom was staying out here with us because she was going to be here for the birth and everything to help or whatever. A few days before I did those stretches, she was telling me that my stomach was like lopsided because you could really see where her back was. Like you could see how she was positioned. And then after I did the stretches, she didn't even know what I was doing or that I was trying to like induce labor. So I was just stretching. Like later that night or the next day, she was like, your stomach like definitely looks different. And I was like, yeah, I can tell, like I can feel a difference, but really the mile circuit is just to turn the baby. Like she was already head down, but I was just trying to turn her, make sure her back was, you know, facing out, and she was lower in the birth canal or whatever to get her ready to come out. So yeah, that was that. So I was like, okay, you can notice a difference, so that must mean it like helped or whatever. That was the day before I had her. And then that next morning I lost my mucus plug, had some bloody show. That was the first time I lost my mucus plug. I know that you can lose it early on and then it can regenerate, but honestly I think that was the first time I lost it. Honestly, it's really hard to tell. After that, I was experiencing some mild cramps throughout the day at like some lower back. Okay, you trying to sit up, ma'am? Okay. And I had some lower back pain. My Braxton Hicks felt a lot stronger, like, and they were lasting a bit longer, but they weren't hurting. And that night I made sure I ate a little more for dinner because you know, anything could have happened at that point. Well, at that point I was figuring, okay, I'm about to go into labor, so I don't know if I'm gonna have an appetite or want to eat anything. I just ate a little bit more, and I'm glad I did because I did not have an appetite at all. Like I did not eat for like more than 24 hours. Tried to head to bed, but at that point I was experiencing contractions. It was getting painful, so I could not get comfortable in the bed, so I just kneeled on the side of my bed. My arms were up, my head was down, and I was just like swaying my hips side to side, you know, just trying to progress things along quicker because at that point, you know, it was quite uncomfortable. I was very tired and couldn't get comfortable. So like I said, this was the same night. This was the 14th. I didn't get comfortable. I was kneeling on the side of the bed, just trying to rest my eyes at that point because I just accepted the fact that I was not going to be able to get any sleep. So I did that for a couple of hours, tried to lay down at that point because my knees were hurting. I had a pillow on the floor, I think, or a towel, I don't know. But anyways, yeah, so I tried to lay down because I was like, I'm just so freaking tired, you know, I just want to go to sleep. And so I tried to lay down, It was very uncomfortable. I feel like laying down actually made it worse, honestly. Like, I got the most relief when I was like standing up or maybe walking around, but obviously at that point it was like 1-2 o'clock in the morning, so I was not trying to walk around. And so yeah, I ended up popping in some music, listening to some CC Linings, because it brought joy to my heart. It was nice and soothing, calming, and distracting while I was timing my contractions. And as soon as I would like start to drift off, I would feel her kick, and then I knew that a contraction was coming. Okay, so for my entire pregnancy they had never checked me to see if I was dilated or anything, so I was curious. I'm like, okay, like I'm feeling this pain, I would like to know how far along I've dilated, or if I've even dilated any. Keep in mind, my water had not broke yet, and it actually never did break. I ended up calling labor and delivery, telling them, you know, about my contractions, about how far apart they were, and I knew before I even called them that my contractions weren't close enough to go in to get admitted or whatever, but I still just wanted to see like how far along I was dilated. I went and got checked. I was 4 centimeters, and the midwife who checked me, she was like, okay, do you want any? What's the matter? Hey, you see you? So the midwife was offering me some medication to just like help me sleep or whatever. I was like, no, I want to do it all natural. I don't want any medication. And she's like, you sure? You know, it's just something to just take the edge off to help you sleep. I was like, yeah, I'm sure. 'Cause at that point, you know, first time mom, I didn't know what qualified as doing it all natural, but I just knew I wanted to do it completely natural, no medications, no nothing. She was like, okay, well, do you want to just wait around and wait? Yeah, she was like, okay, well, do you just want to wait around for like an hour to an hour and a half? Before I got to the hospital, as soon as I got in the car and we pulled out and started heading to the hospital, my contractions had literally like stopped, like there was a pause. Okay, so it's nap time. Like I was saying, she said that we can wait around for a bit, come back and get checked, but we were like, we don't live that far from the hospital, so we'll just go back home. Like, I just wanted to go back home. That's what we did. Got back home. At that point it was like 4 in the morning. Husband wakes up at 5:30 to go to work, and so I told him I don't think he's going to be able to go to work tomorrow, because at this point I was in labor and I didn't know how fast things would progress. So I was like, yeah, better be safe than sorry, because, you know, in the back of his head, it was just like a normal day, and he was like planning to go to work. So that's why he was trying to get some sleep that night. But deep down, I knew, okay, yeah, he's not going to be able to go to work tomorrow. I got back into my position on the side of the bed, trying to get comfortable. Then I couldn't, so I came into the living room, tried to sit on the couch, tried to see if I could get comfortable there, but I couldn't. So I ended up kneeling in front of the couch and laying my head on one of the pillows, and I ended up drifting off for a couple minutes or so at a time. I literally like watched the sun rise. Like every time I would close my eyes and open them, the sun, it would be getting brighter and brighter. And then next thing you knew, at that point it was maybe like 8 or 9 in the morning when everybody started waking up. Once my husband woke up, he ran me a bath, a nice warm bath with some essential oils in there, some Epsom salt, and I sat in there for maybe like 25-30 minutes. And then I had to get ready to go to my 39-week appointment, which was at 11 o'clock that day. And keep in mind, I was steadily still having contractions. They were getting closer. Honestly, I really feel like the intensity stayed the same until later that day. But like I said, I was pretty out of it. I was very tired. I hadn't slept any at that point. So I went to my appointment. So keep in mind, my prenatal appointments throughout my whole entire pregnancy took maybe 10 minutes tops. And I saw the same midwife up until my last 2 appointments. I had different people. So for my very last appointment, I had someone else. And when she came in, she was saying that I was scheduled for EVC, which is when they flip the baby, but she was already head down since like they checked it at maybe like 36 weeks. So I was confused, she was confused. So she was asking me, so how are you? Just asking if I had any questions. And I was just like, well, I'm in labor, I'm having contractions. I was like, can I get checked? And she was like, well, we really don't like to check that often unless we like have to, because we don't want to introduce infection. That was the end of my appointment, so we left. Literally every few minutes we were walking, I would have a contraction and I would have to stop walking and let the contraction pass. So we went home. I maybe ate just a little bit, like I ate a few french fries and drank a little lemonade. Like I was trying to, like I knew my blood sugar was getting low because I could feel it, I was weak. So I knew I had to drink something or eat a little something for the baby. At that point I was literally just doing it for the baby because I could have gone the full 24 hours without eating anything. And by that time I was exhausted. So I literally sat on the couch, got comfortable, and was able to doze off in between contractions. I literally slept in between each of my contractions. At that point it was maybe like between 12 and 1. So I slept in between contractions up until it was maybe 6 or 7 p.m. and at that point the contractions had gotten, you know, a lot stronger, a lot more intense. But you know, I was just chilling, just toughing it out, because I'm like, okay, it's supposed to get worse than this. If I can't take this, how am I going to push her out naturally? So I just stuck it out, you know, mind over matter. I was just focusing on my breathing. I literally barely talked that entire time because my husband was sitting on the couch. I think he was playing the game or just like watching YouTube videos or whatever. My mom, she was in the guest room just doing whatever she was doing for the whole day. Occasionally they'd ask me how I was doing, but other than that, not really much to talk about. I was just laying there trying to get some sleep. At that point, like I said, it was like 6 or 7 o'clock p.m. and I had gotten really weak because I was hungry, and I started feeling like a lot of pressure. Now I felt like I had to poop, but every time I went to the bathroom, nothing would come out. Sat back on the couch, tried to change my positioning to where it didn't feel so uncomfortable whenever I would get that feeling. At that point I had woken up because I was hungry. I knew I needed to eat. I drank some apple juice. I tried to eat a few french fries. I tried to eat that, but I couldn't keep it down. I got really nauseous and I was on the way to try to make it to the bathroom. Yeah, at that point I called my mom in here and I was just like really hot and nauseous. Like I said, I was on my way to the bathroom. I was just like, okay, yeah, if this pain is going to get any more intense than it is, you know, I might just want some pain medication or whatever just to help me manage it if it's going to get worse than it is. So I was trying to head to the bathroom so I could be in front of the toilet just in case I had to throw up or whatever, but I did not make it that far. I made it to like the edge of the couch, which is only like a few feet from here, and I ended up throwing up. But obviously it wasn't like any food because I hadn't eaten anything, so it was just like whatever I had drank pretty much. I was super uncomfortable because like throwing up while you're having a contraction is like, it's really uncomfortable. And so I was just like, yeah, I'm now nervous about not being able to keep anything down because I don't want to get dehydrated, and you know, just nothing good happens from being dehydrated, especially when you're in labor. You know, my husband called labor and delivery and told them what happened and how I was concerned that I was dehydrated, and they were like, yeah, just come on in. I thought I was just going in to get some fluids or maybe just get like admitted and checked again. We got dressed and left, got to the hospital. Because of COVID, the women's center, which is how you get to labor and delivery, that door was closed. So we had to go into the main entrance, which was literally like on the other side of the hospital. So we parked at the main entrance. My husband had to go and find a wheelchair, and he was gone for a good like 2 or 3 minutes trying to find one. And at that point I was just like, you know what, forget it. Like I was thinking this in my head. He had left his phone in the car, but I was just like, oh my gosh, he really left his phone. He's been gone for too long. Like at this point, just come back and get me or whatever, and we can just walk in. But he ended up coming back with a wheelchair. We were trying to figure out how I was gonna get up there because he had to park the car, but there was a security guard or somebody at the front. She was just like, just leave the car, you can come back and get it. So he was like, okay. So he ended up wheeling me up. At that point, my contractions were coming 2 minutes apart. Got up there, got into triage. They hooked me up. At that point, it was like 8 o'clock. I was waiting for the midwife to come in and check me again. And she finally came in. She checked me. And before, when she checked me, it like hurt. When she went to check me this time, I was like bracing myself for it to hurt. She warned me, did the little 2-touch warning. Then she like went in, and then like she didn't even go far at all. She was like, yeah, you're complete. And then she said into her walkie-talkie, page nurse whatever, she's complete. That's when things went from 0 to 100, like OMG. All these people started coming in, you know, somebody trying to hook me up to IV, somebody trying to help me change into a gown, somebody trying to give me a COVID test, and it was so much. It was just going on. I think they might have taken some blood or something. I don't even know. But like I said, it was just like go, go, go. They wheeled me out, rushed me to labor and delivery from the triage room, and got to the delivery room, transferred me to the hospital bed. Then things slowed down, and I was very upset. I'm like, why were we just like rushing before? Like when she checked me, she was like, you know, you ready to have a baby? And I'm like, oh, okay. Once we got to the delivery room, they were still trying to like gather things or whatever in the room. It was just me and my husband and one nurse who was just like putting stuff into the computer. And then at one point, it was just me and my husband in the room, and I was just like, okay, where is everybody? Like, why are things moving so slow? Y'all said I was ready to have this baby. I'm ready to push. A few minutes later, they finally came back in with everything they needed. Pretty much just like prepped me, and then they were like, you ready to push? I was like, yeah. So I started pushing, and keep in mind, at this point, my water still hadn't broke. The midwife, she was like, do you want us to break your water, or do you just want to push it out? So I was like, I could try to push it out. So I pushed it out, the sack or whatever. I pushed it out, and like as soon as it got out of me, it just like ruptured and just like started leaking out. It felt so weird because I ended up pushing on my side, so I felt it when it bust. It was very weird. But anyways, the nurse and the midwife, they were thinking like that I wasn't having effective pushes, but really I was. They were surprised. I pushed and felt the ring of fire, and I was like, OMG. And then her head was out, and at this point she told my husband to walk from the side of the bed. She told him to come here. So he came around to, you know, where she was, and she told him to grab the baby and like pull her out. So once her head came out, of course, you know, the shoulders followed, and from there he pulled her out. So yeah, he said that it felt really like slimy and warm and weird. It was really nice experience because obviously he got to pull the baby out, and it was so cool. So technically he was the first one to hold her. We did delayed cord clamping, so we waited a while to cut the cord. I had like a minor 1st-degree tear. I got a stitch. Yeah, so she showed me the placenta once it came out of me, and it smelled really bad. Oh my gosh. Of course it looked very weird, but I was just like, OMG, that came out of me. But yeah, so it was really cool. Like literally as soon as I gave, like as soon as she was out of me, it was just like, I don't know, it was just, we were just talking to all the nurses, and for one, they were saying how I did like so good to be like a first-time mom, to have labor completely at home, no medications, no nothing. Everybody was just bragging on me of how like I had a very quick delivery thing. Everybody was so shocked, and they were just saying, good job, you're great. And I was just like, really? Thank you. I thought I was doing a terrible job because, you know, I thought I wasn't going to be able to withstand pain and have to get medications or an epidural. But literally like the pain I was feeling was as bad as it was going to get, but I had no idea because like I said, I was thinking that it was going to get worse because of how they get worse after your water breaks. But like I said, my water never broke. So moral of the story, if I wouldn't have thrown up being in fear of getting dehydrated or being dehydrated, I would have never gone to the hospital, and I would have had my daughter at home. So very crazy. So I just want to thank you guys for watching, listening to my birth story. Hopefully you stuck around to the end. It was honestly the craziest experience of my life. It showed me that I am very strong, and I guess I have a very high pain tolerance. I want to thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to comment down below what you thought of my birth story. If you have any video suggestions, any questions or anything, just leave them down below. I will see you guys in my next video.